Okay, let's get to today's headlines. Sky News political reporter Cam Reddin joins me now. Cam, great to see you. What do you make of, well, first Labor's budget and the reply last night from Peter Dutton?
Happy Friday, Erin. It's been a big week. It's the kind of week by at the end of it, you kind of feel like we should be getting into an election campaign. That's sort of the feeling we've left the week with because, look, that budget on Tuesday night is the sort of budget that you would be handing down if an election was around the corner. We're now just creeping into the 12-month window, but there's a lot more people around Parliament House now who think there'll be an election by the end of the year, at the end of this week, than there were at the beginning of this week. It had everything you'd want going into an election. The tax cuts, rebates on power bills, business incentives, optimistic economic forecasts promising that inflation will be below 3% by the end of this year, and noting that unemployment ticked up this week, another 30,000 people out of work. There is the potential that we could actually get there on the current rate. Interesting last night too, the coalition through Peter Dutton's budget in reply speech, really looking to make this election, or a key issue at this election, using migration as a way of solving the housing crisis. We know politically how potent that is, Erin. We've talked about that before, about how Labor is losing votes to the Greens, particularly for renters. It's offering greater assistance through Commonwealth rent assistance. But the coalition talking about bringing in simply fewer people in order to free up more housing that's existing. Doesn't need to be built. It is there. But using that existing stock, freeing it up and allowing Australian buyers and renters to get into the market. You can see some of the measures Peter Dutton proposed last night, including a 2-year ban on foreign investors, the sort of things that could be quite easy to campaign on, Erin, when it comes to voting time.
Yeah, absolutely. He was on the ABC, not obviously because I don't know how many of our viewers watch the ABC, but it was on the ABC last night, and I think it was appalling, some of the questions put to him. I put those to him a little bit later on, so looking forward to having him on the show. What's Ed Husic done now, Cam?
This issue of the broader response from Australia to the issue in Palestine, the conflict in the Middle East, is a really delicate one for Labor, Erin. But what's really brought this to the fore this week were the comments from Labor Senator, a first-termer from Western Australia, Fatima Payman, where she used the phrase "from the river to the sea" that has been echoing around university campuses and protests for many months now. But it's a phrase that the Prime Minister on Sky News and elsewhere has said is problematic. It shouldn't be used. He's called that phrase not appropriate. He said it can be a violent statement, or has agreed with comments that that phrase can be a violent statement. Even yesterday, the Senate passing a motion moved by the coalition, backed by Labor senators, saying that that phrase should not be used and works in opposition to a two-state solution. Why this is significant today, though, is a cabinet minister within that government, Ed Husic, who has spoken about his concerns about the way the conflict is playing out in the Middle East in the past. While he said Fatima Payman should not have used that statement "from the river to the sea," he has publicly backed her speaking out about the moral issues at play and the way that Israel is conducting itself in the Middle East. Here are some of his comments on Sky News earlier.
I don't believe that chant is right. I wouldn't have done it, and I don't think she should have. But what I do back is Fatima's right to express her concern. It takes a lot of guts to go out on an issue as tough as this as a first-term Member of Parliament and to try and get people to focus on the moral issue at hand. There are a number of us that will not stop speaking.
So, Erin, this is a really delicate issue internally for the Labor Party. But you can see there, even though Ed Husic's saying, look, you shouldn't use that statement, the Prime Minister has said that, the opposition has agreed with it too, the sentiment of speaking out and raising these issues is going to continue. That seems to be the message from those who believe, perhaps, or have indicated in the past, that Israel may be going too far.